This is News 8 Now this morning.
A major beneficiary of this incident is Rebecca Cook, and I'm sure she's been able to get more attention, more publicity, and more dollars as a result of this incident.
Gardening is very important. It's a way to, attract wildlife as well as to also grow your own food, and I think that that's super important for young people especially to know where their food comes from.
When you start to become part of the trail running community, you realize how close and awesome these type of people are, and you'll want to just stick around.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to News 8 Now this morning. I'm Derek Sibley. Dua Israr is off, so you'll have me here for today for both news and weather and even some sports as well. So let's talk about some weather here to start us off this morning. We're looking at some partly to mostly cloudy conditions that continue all across the Coulee region here this morning. We're under the influence of a little bit of a disturbance that did bring us a few showers yesterday, if you remember, across portions of the area. But a lot of that was mainly focused down to our south, and we're still dealing with the leftover cloud cover across much of the area this morning, with current temperature readings into the 60s. 59 degrees currently in Eau Claire, 66 in La Crosse, 63 is the temperature now in Winona. And check now on your day planner throughout the day. We may briefly turn mostly clear here between around 7 to 9 o'clock this morning, and then we will turn cloudier again as we head into this afternoon, with temperatures well into the low 80s, with a little bit of a light breeze coming from the north-northwest at around 5 to 10 miles an hour. Meanwhile, our temperatures today looking pretty seasonable, highs there into the low 80s. Now stay tuned. I'll have a check on your full weather forecast plus your dog walking conditions coming up in a few minutes. Well, we'll start with some news now. The Barron County Sheriff's Office reports that 2 people drowned in Pokegama Lake. Officials were called to the lake after 4:15 p.m. Saturday. Deputies were joined by the Shutech Fire Department. Shutech EMS and the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources were in the response. They recovered the body of a 59-year-old man and brought it ashore, where he was pronounced dead. He was identified as Scott Brummond of Chippewa Falls. Officials say that they learned there has been a second person on the pontoon at the time as well, and searched the area until roughly 9 p.m. The next morning, they resumed the search and ultimately recovered the body of 59-year-old Doug Robinson of Shutech. Authorities are referring to the drownings as accidental, but the incident remains under investigation. There will be a road closure on 11th Street South starting today. Mayo Clinic Health System in La Crosse will close the section of 11th Street South that runs from the front of the Cancer and Surgery building and along the east side of the clinic. The street will be closed from August 7th through August 13th for utility work related to the construction of the new hospital. Now, during this time, patients and visitors are asked to use the Market Street entrance to get to the emergency department and to drop off and pick up patients at the hospital and Cancer and Surgery building. Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District continues to get national attention following reports that Representative Derek Van Orden yelled at Senate pages. In late July, Van Orden reportedly cursed at the pages who had been lying on the floor of the Capitol Rotunda to take pictures. He has not apologized and has since defended his actions. Van Orden represents what's considered the most competitive congressional district in Wisconsin. And according to a UWL political science professor, the Page incident could have helped an opponent of his too.
A major beneficiary of this incident is Rebecca Cook, and I'm sure she's been able to get more attention, more publicity, and more dollars as a result of this incident.
They're doing some footage here of the party.
Awesome.
Cook is currently the only Democrat who has announced her campaign against Van Orden for the 3rd Congressional District seat. She ran back in 2022, but lost in the primary to State Senator Brad Pfaff. Van Orden went on to beat Pfaff for the seat by 3 percentage points. The 2024 election will likely see a similarly competitive election. It was a celebration of furry friends and community open spaces at Roe Park in Onalaska. Dogs and their owners gathered for the second annual Bark in the Park, hosted by the Unalaska Parks and Rec. The event was open to the public and all dog breeds, with various activities and events for owners and their pups. It was a fun-filled event for all. There was a splash pad for pups to cool off, along with cups, a pet-friendly photo booth, and demonstrations from the Coulee Region Kennel Club.
This is our first year doing it at Roe Park, and we are really thankful that the weather turned out so that we can be outside and enjoying the park with all of our animals.
They don't cooperate.
Looks like everyone had a pause time. A silent auction was also held, and proceeds went towards the Coulee Region Humane Society and the Unalaska Police K-9 Unit. If you missed out but would love to be a part of the Bark in the Park next year or hear about more events from the Unalaska Parks and Recreation, we will have a link on our free News 8000 app. Ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. The Holmen Historical Society hosted its annual Ice Cream Social. It's part of a fundraiser to support Holmen Archives. People in Holmen enjoyed the beloved treat while learning about the history of the community. Along with the old-fashioned ice cream social, there was a silent auction, vendors with vintage and antique items for sale, and even a bucket raffle. There was also live music and a classic car show. Officials from the Holmen Area Historical Society said they've been doing this particular fundraiser for 2 years now. Well, the Healthy Community Partnership of La Crescent hosted its first annual La Crescent Parade of Gardens. Organizers wanted to give the community a chance to showcase the variety of gardens in the area. This consisted of vegetable gardens, pollinators, fruit trees, and even student gardens at the elementary school. From live music to a multitude of vendors and exhibits from Houston County Master Gardeners, it was not just a fun day, but an educational one as well.
Gardening is very important. It's a way to, I guess, attract wildlife as well as to also grow your own food, and I think that that's super important for young people especially to know where their food comes from.
If you are interested in seeing future events held by the Healthy Community Partnership of the La Crescent area, download our free News 8000 app for more information. Well, runners had a chance to showcase their endurance at the 24-hour Hickson Forest Rud Run in La Crosse. The event was free and open to the public. It took place at the Upper Hickson Forest Trails. This kind of race is commonly known as Run Until Done. Each team consisted of 1 to 8 runners, with races starting every hour. Runners had 1 hour to complete a 4-mile loop. If not finished in the hour, the runner is done. And organizers say that the trail racing is more than just getting out in nature, but also a community in its own right.
When you start to become part of the trail running community, you realize how close and awesome these type of people are, and you'll want to just stick around.
Well, the Rud Run went until the last team or individual was done. Galvin mentioned that there were a few individuals trying to complete the whole 24 hours, which equaled running 100 miles. The American Queen riverboat made a special stop in La Crosse. The vessel docked at Riverside Park, and passengers were able to disembark for a tour of the La Crosse and Winona areas. While the riverboat was docked at Riverside Park, visitors got a chance to look at the historic ship. Built in 1995, the American Queen is said to be the largest river steamboat ever built. Well, still ahead on your morning news, the U.S. job market is finally slowing down, what that might mean for employers and workers. And as the pandemic ends, Americans are coming down with the travel bug. But a passport processing backlog is putting some dream vacations on hold. That and more when we're back. Stay tuned. For now, we're sending you to break with something to put the good in your morning. New images from the James Webb Telescope are offering never-before-seen views of the Ring Nebula. The colorful nebula is located 2,600 light years from Earth. It is home to the remnants of a dying star called a white dwarf that is shedding its outer layers into space to create glowing rings and expanding clouds of gas. The new high-resolution images show the intricate details of the nebula's expanding shell and reveal the inner region around the dying star. Don't go anywhere. Your consumer news at News 8 Now this morning is coming up after the break. Well, it shares a pretty cloudy start this morning from our local satellite and radar picture, and you can see this big swirl of clouds associated with this disturbance that did bring us a little bit of some light rain to portions of the area yesterday and over the weekend in general there. Our current temperatures are into the 50s the further north you are in the Chippewa Valley, such as Eau Claire, you're currently at 57. Same here in Rusk County and Ladysmith, you're also at 57, but the further south you are, the warmer it is, with current temperatures into the low to mid 60s. 66 now is that current temperature in La Crosse, and at 63 in Winona. Good morning to you in Sparta. You're currently at 61. Viroqua, you're at 63. Let's get checked now on your zone forecast today overall. And you know, today is going to be a pretty seasonable day in terms of our temperatures, as highs will be into the mid 80s this afternoon. In fact, in Berry Mills, you'll be at 84, and the same can be said in Onalaska, La Crosse, and at further south in Shelby today. Low 80s can be set across our southern communities with a high of about 80 today in Viroqua, 82 in Stoddard, and 79 towards the southwest in Waukon. Highs will reach 84 in Melrose and a high of 83 in Blair, 84 Black River Falls and a high of 83 in Sparta. Meanwhile, in the Chippewa Valley, we're looking at highs today into the low to mid 80s with a mix of sun and afternoon clouds here as well. Now stay tuned. I'll have a check on your full weather forecast coming up in a few minutes. Well, in your consumer news this morning, the U.S. job market is showing signs of a possible cool down. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 187,000 jobs were added in the month of July. It's less than the net gain of 200,000 jobs economists were expecting, but still fell within the Federal Reserve's goals. The unemployment rate fell to 3.5% from 3.6%. Apple sales are still in a slump. The tech giant announced its revenue dropped 1% to just under $82 billion for the quarter that ended on July 1st. That marks the third straight year-over-year decline in quarterly revenue for Apple. However, Apple officials did have some positive news. They say service revenues, which include Apple Music and Apple TV Plus, might hit an all-time high. CEO Tim Cook also said the company is doing well in emerging markets. With people around the country enjoying post-pandemic summer vacations, more Americans than ever are renting out their properties on Airbnb. And now that includes Hollywood Gwyneth Paltrow, the Oscar winner and founder of Goop, announced via Instagram that she's listing her California guest house on the platform. In addition to the guest house and amenities, lucky visitors will get the chance to enjoy a chef's dinner with the star and her husband, Brad Falchuk. Now, Falchuk booking requests for the guest house will open on August the 15th. Many Americans are getting ready to take a summer vacation, and some are scrambling to get their passport in time. The State Department is still digging out from a processing backlog that started during the pandemic. Now, some members of Congress are stepping in to help.
This trip was everything to us.
About a year ago, Connie Rayner and Vicki Heller booked the European cruise of a lifetime with 81 family members and friends. But coordinating logistics for a battalion of buddies was easy compared to renewing their passports.
When did you guys actually get your passports? 3 days after our ship left.
Both women mailed in their applications perilously close to the stated 13-week turnaround time. Realizing the documents might not make it, they requested expedited processing. But 5 days before departure, still no passports.
We contacted the Congressman's office, said, what can you do for us?
Right, if my member of Congress can't get this done, then who can, right?
Exactly.
They're not alone. Across the nation, panicked passportless passengers are reaching out to lawmakers.
This is a basic governmental job.
Oklahoma Republican Senator James Lankford says his office has had to assign 3 full-time staff members to passport duty.
Is this the #1 issue you're hearing from constituents right now?
Yeah, I have about 250 open cases right now in my office. The painful part is they don't know what's happening to it. When you stick it in the mail, you don't know where it is.
Lankford is proposing new legislation he says would help tackle the backlog, including better online tracking, allowing the State Department to surge staff from other departments, and expanding the number of in-person appointments. The State Department says it's already working to improve the process.
This is going to be be turning of a dial a little bit, not exactly flipping a switch.
But any potential improvements will come too late for many Americans who've already missed the boat, or in this case, the cruise liner.
Do not make payments. Do not book that trip until you have that passport in hand.
All right, well, it sure is a very cloudy start here this morning from City Cam 8 in downtown La Crosse, as you can see right there behind me. But you can see just a little bit of some clearing. So that is some indications that we're seeing just a little bit of some drier air now moving in across portions of the area. That may help clear out the skies here a little bit later. We'll get to that in the forecast coming up in a second. 66 degrees is the temperature now in La Crosse. Visibility looking crystal clear now at 10 miles, light north winds at around 8 miles an hour. Meanwhile, if you're in Eau Claire, a little cooler here for you. Temperatures at 57 degrees. Wind speeds are looking calm. I'm still keeping an eye on the visibility. 6 miles, a little bit of some patchy fog is possible in some spots as it's a bit humid out there in some locations as well. And you can see some of those clouds across the area, but notice some of that clearing there, as we noticed from CityCam, starting to show up now on the local satellite and radar picture as well. So we are starting to see evidence of that, and then we may see some increasing clouds later. We'll get to that as well in just a second. But I do want to show you the current temperatures as you head out the door. We're in the 50s up towards the Chippewa Valley, but the further south you are, including La Crosse, you're looking at temperatures mainly into the 60s. 66 now in La Crosse, as we saw. Viroqua, you're at 62. Sparta, you're currently at 61. And Winona, you're at 63. Meanwhile, Prairie du Chien, you're currently sitting at 65 degrees. All right, so for the planner today, overall, mostly sunny, 66 to start. Then we're at 78 degrees at noon with cloudy skies. Things will turn cloudy again as we head to around 4 o'clock today with afternoon temperatures in the low 80s. And then by 8 o'clock, we will be looking at 77 degrees under partly cloudy skies here. No scattered thunderstorms. Have to change that here in the next graphic, but excuse that. Forecast highs today into the low to mid 80s. We're expecting a high of 83 in Eau Claire today. Meanwhile, La Crosse not too far from that with a high for you of 84. Sparta, you're looking at a high of around 83 degrees this afternoon. All right, so Sky Tracker picking up the clouds. It's also picking up on some of the drier air back towards the west, and we do expect the dry air to linger here through at least 8 o'clock this morning to help get rid of the remaining clouds. But we are expecting more clouds to develop and push their way east across the area through this afternoon and also into early this evening. Now, at the same time, by early this evening, a couple of light pop-ups of a couple of light showers are possible, and then we start to see a little bit of clearing again by the time we reach overnight tonight, followed by more cloud cover as we head into early tomorrow morning with a slight chance of a spotty shower or two. Same could be said here as we head into late morning tomorrow, and a couple of light scattered pop-ups of showers are possible tomorrow afternoon, and then those will quickly end as we head into tomorrow night. All right, check now on your 8-day forecast showing that we do have better storm chances though in the forecast for Wednesday and then once again on Friday. Otherwise, mixed clouds and sun with highs in the 80s and lows in the 60s. All right, stay with us. We're back with much more news and weather still to come here on News 8 Now this morning. For now, we're sending you to break with a look what happened on this day in history for August 7th. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Morning Blitz. We're going to start with the Brewers. Yesterday was the return of Brandon Woodruff. The two-time All-Star hadn't pitched since April 7th when he went on the injury list. But now he's back and was ready to go. And if you don't believe me, check out his first inning. Leadoff man, swing, and a miss for out number 1. Next batter, full count, and it's called strike 3. For the second out of the day, third batter, and I think you know what's coming as well. Gets the batter swinging for his third strikeout of the inning. Big Woo sporting a nice beard there as well. And it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, though. Woody leaves one over the plate for Endy Rodriguez, and he's going to take that deep for a solo shot. Pirates take the lead. Then in the 8th inning, a man for Byron Reynolds, and he crushes one off of J.C. Mejia. That adds 2 more. Pittsburgh now up 4. Brewers down to their final out. Runners at the corners, and Mark Canha ground one to third, but the first throw to first goes high. A run scores. Brewers within 3. Next batter, Andrew Monasterio, and he pops it up. Not going to be deep enough, and that is the game. 4-1 the final. So the teams split the series. Woody gave up a pair of solo home runs, but besides for that, he looked good in his 5 innings, striking out 9. Milwaukee still holding on to first place, but the Reds and the Cubs are both just a game and a half back. Next up for the Brewers, tonight at home against the Colorado Rockies. Well, the Cubs are within a game and a half. They've been red hot up against the Braves, but Matt Olson is going to get scoring starting for Atlanta in the third inning. A 2-run home run puts the Braves up 2. But here comes Chicago. Bases loaded for Ian Happ. A grounder up the middle, steps on the bag for 1, but Happ beats out the throw to first, and the Cubs are within 1. Now in the 5th, runner on the 3rd for Happ, and this time he singles into center field. The run scores as Happ has tied this game at 3. Next batter, Coley Bellinger. He finds some room over the right field, and it's trouble. Happ rounds 3rd, and he's going to score all the way first. Chicago takes the lead. As the Cubs would go on to win 6-4, and as I mentioned, trails Milwaukee by just a game and a half in the NL Central. Well, it was a rainy day in Minnesota as the Twins were in a weather delay for a few hours, going for the sweep against the Diamondbacks. And here's Carlos Correa with 2 men on singles into the outfield. Both runners come in to score, and the Twins take the lead in the 6th inning. Arizona would take the lead, but then in the 9th, with nobody on Max Kepler, is going to take a trip around the bases for a game-tying solo home run. Now later in the inning, it's the Twin Cities area native Matt Wallner, a deep blast to right center field for a walk-off home run. Wallner coming up clutch his first walk-off blast of his young career. Minnesota gets the win 5-3, and they sweep Arizona. All right, well, that'll do it for the Blitz. We'll be right back with much more news and weather. Stay tuned.
Expect more from News 8 Now. Thanks for watching.
Well, attorneys for former President Donald Trump have through this afternoon to respond after special counsel Jack Smith asked a federal judge to impose a protective order. It would prevent him from disclosing evidence related to the January 6th federal indictment. CBS News correspondent Winnie Gillette reports from New York on the latest in the case.
Misinformation, disinformation, that's what they are.
Former President Donald Trump attacked the latest federal indictment he's facing at a GOP dinner in South Carolina over the weekend. As his attorney argued on CBS's Face the Nation, the case has no merit.
The vice president will be our best witness. What I said is the ultimate ask of Vice President Pence was to pause the count and allow the states to weigh in.
Pence said on Face the Nation that's not true.
That's not what happened. From sometime in the middle of December, the president began to be told that I had some authority to reject or return votes back to the states. I had no such authority.
Trump says his lawyers plan to ask for a recusal of the judge and a change of venue, so the case is not tried in Washington.
This is what's called a Swiss cheese indictment. It has so many holes that we're going to be identifying and litigating.
But first, his attorneys must deal with responding to special counsel Jack Smith's request for a protective order after Trump wrote on social media Friday, "If you go after me, I'm coming after you." A few of his 2024 GOP rivals criticized the former president despite his threats.
I don't think he's a good Republican at all. Donald Trump is Donald Trump.
In a CBS News poll, the majority of Americans believe the indictments against Trump are upholding the rule of law and defending democracy. But most also think they're trying to stop the Trump campaign in a race in which he's handily ahead.
Many of the January 6 defendants have asked for a change of venue in their cases, but judges have rejected all of those motions. Defense officials have announced that 4 U.S. Navy destroyers were dispatched to the coast of Alaska. This comes after nearly a dozen Chinese and Russian ships were spotted near the Aleutian Islands last week. A Chinese embassy spokesperson said the vessels were conducting joint patrols in the western and northwestern and northern Pacific Ocean, and that the action was not targeted at any third party. Republican Senators Dan Sullivan and Lisa Murkowski have said they have received classified briefings about the situation. The Fond du Lac Police Department is asking the public for help in locating a missing man. 56-year-old Troy Zupke was last seen on Thursday, August 3rd in Fond du Lac. He left his residence and said he was heading to Green Bay. He hasn't responded to anyone since leaving and hasn't answered voicemails from officers either. If you have any information that could be helpful to locating Zupke, police are asking you to call the number there on your screen. A federal court panel of judges has ruled against Governor Evers. The case was related to a local GOP leader's efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election in Wisconsin. Now, Evers has asked the court to award him attorney fees and costs for a lawsuit brought up by Bill Feehan. Feehan is the former La Crosse County Republican Party chair and the current GOP party chair for Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District. In 2020, Feehan has filed a lawsuit that, if successful, would have prevented Wisconsin's electoral votes for Joe Biden from being certified. The court dismissed the case. Feehan's attempts to appeal the decision were unsuccessful. Evers was hoping to recoup the cost of Feehan's lawsuit that were earlier reported to be $107,000. The decision against Evers came last Wednesday, just days after Feehan was noted as a false elector in last week's indictment of Donald Trump. CrossFit athletes are wrapping up this year's games. They said they'll be saying goodbye to Madison and waiting to see where the games will be held next year. Members of the CrossFit community recalled their fondest from the last 6 years of the event taking place in Wisconsin's capital city.
So many people, so many different languages, or so many different cultures here. It's awesome. I would love to go somewhere else and be a part of that in their city.
In recent years, the annual CrossFit Games have become a staple of Madison summer culture. Since 2017, the event has brought more than $72 million to the area, stimulating Dan County's already booming economy. Now that the games are headed elsewhere, many Madisonians and CrossFitters are sad to see them go. CrossFit has yet to announce where the games will be held in the future. Well, you don't need a little red Corvette to drive down a 7-mile stretch of road in Chanhassen to feel Prince's presence. Mario Mons has more from the dedication of the Prince's Memorial Highway outside Paisley Park.
Along the side of Highway 5 in Chanhassen, MnDOT crew member added a new permanent addition.
This is really substantial and significant for a musical legend Minnesotan.
This is a Prince Day. This is a Prince Rogers Nelson Memorial Highway Day.
Mark Webster, a friend of the late singer, privately funded 4 of these new purple signs to be placed along either side of Highway 5. This dedication has been a mission of his for the last 3.5 years.
This is my job. I never worked for him, but I think I'm working for him now. So I'm trying to do the best I can in his honor to make things right.
We're very thankful to Mark for sticking with it.
Prince's older sister Sharon came to the dedication. She believes this is the perfect way to honor her brother's memory.
You know Prince's DNA is all up and down this highway, right? For so many years, he really was. And we're going to remember every time we pass this way, every great song he ever made.
Part of making this moment possible was getting a bill passed in the state legislature to change the name of this stretch of highway. State Senator Julia Coleman led that effort.
It's a bipartisan bill, a bipartisan effort to honor a great man and Chanhassen's favorite neighbor.
Prince's spirit shined brightly, especially for some lucky tourists from North Carolina who were visiting Paisley Park when this dedication happened.
The universe was conspiring on our behalf so we could be here for this.
Along the Purple Highway in Chanhassen.
Don't forget him now. Never forget Prince.
All right, well, this morning temperatures are into the 50s and 60s out there, but we're also under the influence of some cloudy skies. Now, over the last 30 minutes to an hour, we have seen a little bit of some partial clearing here from some dry air into the atmosphere, helping to erode some of those clouds outside right now. Current temperatures, again, 50s and 60s. We got 66 in La Crosse now. 57 is the temperature, however, the further north you are in the Chippewa Valley. Meanwhile, Winona, you're currently at 63. Sparta's at 61. Viroqua, 62 degrees. And the forecast overall today, mostly cloudy, but pretty seasonable with our temperatures. As highs will climb into the mid-80s. Light north-northwest winds. at around 5 to 10 miles an hour. For tonight, temperatures drop to 62, which is pretty seasonable under partly cloudy skies and winds pretty light out of the west-northwest at around 5 to 10 miles an hour. So for your mowing forecast conditions today, we start at 66 degrees at around 8 o'clock. By noon, 78, turning cloudy again, and then mostly cloudy at 5 o'clock, 82 degrees. So if you haven't had a chance to mow yet, today's a pretty good day to do so. I'll have much more coming up in the full weather forecast after the break. We'll talk about what we could be in store here for the rest of this week. Also coming up in our Buzz Report, actor Jamie Foxx is in hot water over a social media post. By some were offended, and his explanation for the post as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, over the last hour or so, we have noticed the skies are beginning to clear out a little bit. That's because we're watching a little bit of some drier air aloft in the atmosphere, helping to erode some of those clouds. And as a result, we're starting off on a pretty nice note here for the later morning hours now, with current temperatures at 66 degrees. Our visibility levels at around 10 miles, light northerly winds currently in La Crosse at 8 miles an hour. Meanwhile, for those of you in Eau Claire, we're a little cooler towards the north. Temperatures are at 57 degrees. Wind speeds are looking calm. Visibility still a little bit low in some spots around 6 miles. That could be an indication of some patchy fog or mist developing. We'll keep our eyes on that. Humidity is a little high in some spots as well this morning. So you can see CityCam matching with our satellite and radar picture. You can see the clearing there of the skies across the area as most of the clouds continue to move down towards the south, with our current temperatures into the 50s in the Chippewa Valley, but the 60s pretty much everywhere else you go, especially in areas like La Crosse. And 62 is the temperature now in Viroqua, with 61 for Boscobel, and 63 the temperature now for you in Winona. So an overall check on your planner: mostly sunny at 7 o'clock, 66, and then turning cloudy at noon today again, with temperatures at 78. Skies will continue to remain on the cloudy side by 4, with temperatures there at 83. And then we drop just a little bit down into those mid to upper 70s, 77 to be exact, by around 8 o'clock this evening under partly cloudy skies. And our forecast highs today are expected to be into the low to mid 80s. I'm expecting 83 today in Eau Claire and a high of 84 degrees this afternoon in La Crosse. And pretty much the same can be said everywhere else here this afternoon. So as we take a look at Sky Tracker, you can see some of those clouds across the area here. Again, those clearing skies will continue as we progress through those later morning hours. However, as soon as noon arrives, I'm expecting more clouds to develop from the west and move their way towards the east to spread across the area to limit the sunshine for today, it looks like. And that will be in store, as a matter of fact, really throughout the rest of the day. A couple of light spotty showers are possible for this evening. Otherwise, we're expecting partly to mostly cloudy conditions to take shape through at least overnight tonight, with only just a slight chance of a shower possible. And this trend will continue as we head into early tomorrow morning. By noon tomorrow, still expecting partly to mostly cloudy conditions, slight chance of a shower possible in some spots. I think we may see a little bit of some better chances, however, by around 4 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, with a couple of light scattered pop-up showers here and there. Otherwise, those chances will quickly diminish, especially by tomorrow night, with clearing skies there in the forecast for tomorrow night. Here's a check on your 8-day forecast, and we are expecting better storm chances here on Wednesday and then again possibly on Friday. Otherwise, mixed clouds and sunshine around here, with highs mainly into the low to mid 80s, which is pretty seasonable, and low temperatures mainly into the 60s. In our morning Buzz Report, Hollywood star Jamie Foxx got himself into trouble this weekend with an Instagram post that some saw as anti-Semitic. In the now deleted post, the actor wrote, quote, "They killed this dude named Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you?" End quote. Foxx took to Instagram again in the midst of the backlash. He offered a heartfelt apology to the Jewish community and explained that his post referred to fake friends, not to people of the Jewish faith. Foxx went on to say he loves and respects the Jewish community. YouTuber MrBeast has gotten himself into a whopper of a lawsuit. Jimmy Donaldson, also known as MrBeast on social media, launched the concept of a virtual restaurant called MrBeast Burger as a promise to the pandemic, or as a response to the pandemic. Teaming up with a Florida-based company, the plan was for MrBeast burgers to be prepared by existing restaurants and delivered by companies like Grubhub and DoorDash. However, according to a lawsuit filed by Donaldson last week, the quality of the burgers did not live up to what he was promised. Some fans who have tried the burgers went so far as to call them inedible.
I'm leaving town. I am too. That was my plan. Where are you going? Tallahassee, Florida. I've been unhappy. That's why we take this trip together, honey babe. We get our act together.
Well, release dates for movies like Drive Away Dolls are being pushed back as a result of the Hollywood's writer's strike. The film stars Margaret Qualley and Geraldine Wissawanathan as a woman who go on a spur-of-the-moment road trip only to get mixed up with a group of bumbling criminals. Instead of opening this September, the film is now set to hit theaters at the end of February 2024. All right, before we head to break, it's time to look at today's Look Who's 8. We got a few birthdays to celebrate here for you this morning. We're going to start off with Addison, who is turning 8 today. Now, she likes playing with her neighbors. It's a nice picture there, Addison, and riding her bike and going on vacation with family. Karen is turning 80 today. She enjoys gardening and spending time with her kids and grandkids. Lois is 88 years old today. Now, she's the life of the party, loves playing card games and spending time with her sister, 12 children, 45 grandchildren, and 27 great-grandchildren. Lois, I don't know how you do it. That is a lot of children there. And if you know a special someone that is turning 8 weeks, 8 months, 8 years, 18, 80, or 88 years old soon, we'd love to feature them here. Just upload their photo to our website, news8000.com, and look for the Submit Pictures button underneath the Home tab on our website. All right, stay with us. We'll have everything you need to know today in 5 minutes or less. Your Morning News Now is up next. Time for your Morning News Now. The Barron County Sheriff's Office reports that 2 people drowned in Pocagama Lake. Officials were called to the lake after 4:15 p.m. Saturday. Deputies were joined by the Shutech Fire Department, Shutech EMS, and the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources in the response as well. And they recovered the body of a 59-year-old man and brought it ashore where he was pronounced dead. He was identified as Scott Brumand of Chippewa Falls. Officials say that they learned there had been a second person on the pontoon at the time as well, and searched the area until roughly 9 p.m. The next morning, they resumed the search and ultimately recovered the body of 59-year-old Doug Robinson of Shutech. Authorities are referring to the drownings as accidental, but the incident remains under investigation. The Fond du Lac Police Department is asking the public for help in locating a missing man. 56-year-old Troy Zupke was last seen on Thursday, August 3rd in Fond du Lac. He left his residence and said he was heading to Green Bay. He hasn't responded to anyone since leaving and hasn't answered voicemails from officers. If you have any information that could be helpful to locating Zupke, police are asking you to call the number there on your screen. A federal court panel of judges has ruled against Governor Evers. The case was related to a local GOP leader's efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election in Wisconsin. Evers had asked the court to award him attorney fees and costs for a lawsuit brought by Bill Feehan. Feehan is the former La Crosse County Republican Party chair and the current GOP party chair for Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District. In 2020, Feehan has filed a lawsuit that, if successful, would have prevented Wisconsin's electoral votes for Joe Biden from being certified. The court dismissed the case. Feehan's attempts to appeal the decision were unsuccessful. Evers was hoping to recoup the cost of Feehan's lawsuit that were earlier reported to be $107,000. The decision against Evers came last Wednesday, just days after Feehan was noted as a false elector in last week's indictment of Donald Trump. There will be a road closure on 11th Street South starting today. Mayo Clinic Health System in La Crosse will close the section of 11th Street South that runs from the front of this cancer and surgery building and along the east side of the clinic. The street will be closed from August 7th through August 13th for utility work related to the construction of the new hospital. Now, during this time, patients and visitors are asked to use the Market Street entrance to get to the emergency department and to drop off and pick up patients at the hospital and cancer and surgery building. Ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. The Holmen Historical Society hosted its annual Ice Cream Social. As part of a fundraiser to support Holmen Archives, people in Holmen enjoyed the beloved treat while learning about the history of the community. Along with the old-fashioned Ice Cream Social, there was a silent auction, vendors with vintage and antique items for sale, and even a bucket raffle. There was also live music and a classic car show. Officials from the Holman Area Historical Society said that they've been doing this particular fundraiser for 2 years. Well, the Healthy Community Partnership of La Crescent hosted its first annual La Crescent Parade of Gardens. Organizers wanted to give the community a chance to showcase the variety of gardens in the area. This consisted of vegetable gardens, pollinators, fruit trees, and even student gardens at the elementary school. From live music to a multitude of vendors and exhibits from Houston County Master Gardens, it was not just a fun day, but an educational one as well.
Gardening is very important. It's a way to, I guess, attract wildlife as well as to also grow your own food, and I think that that's super important for young people especially to know where their food comes from.
Well, if you are interested in seeing future events held by the Healthy Community Partnership of the La Crescent area, download our free News 8000 app for more info. The American Queen riverboat made a special stop in La Crosse. The vessel docked at Riverside Park, and passengers were able to dismount for a tour of the La Crosse and Winona areas. While the riverboat was docked at Riverside Park, visitors got a chance to look at the historic ship. Built in 1995, the American Queen is said to be the largest river steamboat ever built. And as you head out the door this morning, temperatures are mainly into the 60s under mostly clear skies for most locations, but we will start to see those clouds increase as we head into the late morning and then turning cloudy again by the early afternoon. High temperatures today into the low 80s, a light northwest wind to go along with that at around 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overall, not a bad day, seasonable in terms of temperatures as well. Taking a look now at your 8-day forecast, partly cloudy skies for the day tomorrow with the high temperatures a little warmer at 86. And then highs into the mid-80s throughout the rest of the week as well, with a chance of thunderstorms on Wednesday and Friday. Other than that, just mixed clouds and sun. And again, those highs into the 80s and low temperatures into the 60s. So pretty nice 8-day forecast there for the rest of the week. Enjoy it, get outside and do what you got to do. Here's a live look from City Cam 8 in downtown La Crosse. Skies are clearing out a little bit, but again, expect some of those clouds to increase later today. We'll see you back here later this afternoon for News 8 Now at noon. Have a great day.